The Sixers or disappointed in the Mavs this season?
I'm actually more impressed with the Sixers and their season. They've been unbelievable all season long. The consistent play, not only at home, but on the road. They were a team last year on the road that were 12-26. They're 8-9 on the road. The ability to bounce back. And then the additions to the team have been great. When you think about Steph Curry, Danny Green, Dwight Howard, and then Tobias Harris, my guy who got snubbed off the All-Star team, is a 50-40, 90 guy almost. So the Sixers are way more impressive than the Mavs. I think the Mavs were a little overrated. People had Luka to win the MVP. But as a team, they did not make a lot of adjustments or add enough pieces to be really competitive in the Western Conference when you talk about being in the top four.
Okay. These are all great answers, great points. I'm going to tell you I'm disappointed in Brandon Marshall and Antoine Walker. And here's why. Hey, Brandon, I don't know if you've been looking, but ever since you made the proclamation that not only is Joel Embiid the league MVP, but Joel Embiid is the best player in basketball, replacing LeBron James. Let me go ahead and look. Oh, he's 14 of 53 from the field. He's shooting a robust 26% since that proclamation. You might be like, oh, everyone has a bad three-game stretch, even LeBron. And so we looked it up this morning. You're right. LeBron James has had a 30% or worse field goal percentage in 3 straight games. As an 18-year-old in his second week in the league, hasn't done it since then. So Brandon, disappointed in you. But more importantly, I'm disappointed in my friend Antoine Walker, who took Ben Simmons off the All-Star team, who said, oh, defense, schmefense, who cares? And Ben Simmons, you know what he said last night? I'm the best defender in basketball, and Antoine Walker. You know who said that 2 days ago? Your old buddy Nick Wright. So I want Antoine to apologize to Ben Simmons, give him his All-Star spot back, because he did lock up my large adult Slovenian son. And Brandon, I want you to apologize to America for saying someone other than LeBron was the best player in the league. Apologies across the board. Wild, you were out sick, so you're fine.
I can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it. Just keep watching.
Can't do it,
keep watching. Look, Jenna. Right. Look, both of these stories are real. I'm impressed with the 76ers, and I'm disappointed in the Mavericks. I'm disappointed in the Mavericks because you have a guy in Luka, Nick's stepson or godson, whoever he calls him.
No.
This is the dude that could potentially be the face of the NBA. They're going to have to figure, whatever he says. They're going to have to figure this out. It reminds me of LeBron James in Cleveland. I'm not comparing Luka to LeBron, but what I am comparing is the situation when you have a once-in-a-generation athlete. You got to figure out how to surround them with the top-tier talents in a great organization. Now, why am I impressed with the 76ers? Well, because in the bubble, I was calling out Joel Embiid. We're talking about Ben Simmons not being a guy and being a bust. And all of a sudden, a couple months into the season, they're looking like a real challenge in the East.
They look great.
You see how I did that? You see how I did that?
You did a good job. They have a ton of weapons. You watch that game, you're like, oh, the Sixers have about 7 guys who can get a bucket. And then here we go, like, oh, Luka bringing the ball out. They're like, well, we got to make some magic happen. We know the Nets have got the big 3 and the Lakers have got the big 2. And the poor Mavericks, Nick, I don't know, you gotta have a little father-son conversation because it's just the big one. And I don't know if you guys want to move for Porzingis. I don't know, like you want to have a little conversation with your son here and be like, hey, probably got to move on from Porzingis and get somebody else in here if you guys not going to be able to be on the court. Your buddy needs some help. Your son, I'm sorry, not your son.
We've had those talks.
So do I just say his son?
He defends his teammate.
Your son.
He's my large adult Slovenian son. Brandon, stop disrespecting my family. Jenna, we have to move on. Brandon's going to make me mad. He's my godson. He's my godson.
Other action last night, Twan Nuggets lost to the Wizards on this wacky final play. They had 3 guys. They needed 2 points to go to overtime. It's a conversation piece because obviously it did not happen. Antoine, who's at fault for the Nuggets' loss last night after that head-scratcher of a finish?
Well, one, we start with Jamal Murray. Then second, we start with the Denver Nuggets coaching staff, because usually you start out the practice doing 3-on-1 drills where you just go get a layup. And then the other part is that this is our league right now. Everybody wants to shoot threes. Nobody wants to play basketball. Nobody wants to shoot a layup. And it shows, and this is embarrassing when it comes to the game. The Nuggets to lose a game like this, and Jamal Murray's supposed to be an all-star, a guy that's supposed to take this team to the next level, and this is what you get for game. It's sad, but it's also funny. It just shows where our league is at right now. Guys are running for threes instead of layups.
What?
And they're not the only team that does this, but to do it for game is really embarrassing.
Walk, you're the basketball guy, and I'm the football guy. This is, well, number one, it's on Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray should, if you're a star on the team, then you take the last shot. Go to the basket. But then you're talking about a three. This is why I'm calling you out as the basketball guy. He didn't have any time. This would have been a rushed mid-range floater. This is a better opportunity. This was a better shot for him. He's right there. The ball's coming. It's a bad pass. He had to pull it. Come on, Walk.
Actually, he shouldn't even been in the game at this time. And then if I'm Jamal Murray, I'm shooting the basketball. It's the reason why. It's the reason why some guys make the league minimum, and it's the reason why some guys make $25+ million a year. Jamal Murray's got to go one-on-one and shoot a floater in that situation.
Okay.
I'm not kicking into chance
First
for a
of
three.
all, stop disrespecting Campazzo. I'm not going to allow the Italian-American erasure to go on any longer. That's first of all. Second of all, Brandon, the reason it would have been a rushed mid-range shot is because they spread out. If any of them just go to the basket, they have a layup. But once again, you're all wrong on who's to blame. Kevin Wildes, you want to know who's to blame? Steph Curry.
Yeah, sure.
This is all Steph's fault. It's Steph's fault. Steph. Why are we blaming Steph? He's not there. Because a generation of hoopers has watched a once-in-a-lifetime shooter make a open three a layup, and they're like, well, an open three's a layup, but it's worth one more point. It's not a layup for any of y'all. Campazzo, I love you. Not a layup. MPJ,
Campazzo.
Missouri kid
Not
like
your
me.
fault,
I love you.
Campazzo.
Go get a dunk. Listen, Steph Curry. Steph Curry needs to hold a seminar and tell people you're not me. Stop trying to be me because you're making the NBA worse. So, Wildes, I blame Steph personally for this.
I don't blame anybody. I liked it. I like highlight reel stuff. Like, go for the win. You know what? Let's go home. I don't want to play for overtime. Let's go for the win. I liked it. I love Jamal Murray's reaction afterwards. Like, he does the home alone, which you know it's a bad play. You're like, oh no, Kevin.
Campazzo almost airballed. Campazzo almost airballed.
All right. Let's talk some trade rumors now. Stuff that might happen. Raptors guard Kyle Lowry, one of the guys rumored to be on the move. Reportedly, the Sixers, the Heat, and the Clippers are all possible fits. Antoine, where would Lowry make the biggest impact? Philly, Miami, or out there in L.A.?
Well, Kyle Lowry make an impact anywhere, but I think the biggest impact would be if he goes to the Philadelphia 76ers. If you add him to that equation with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, now you got a legitimate chance to compete against the Brooklyn Nets. Because Kyle Lowry's going to compete against Kyrie Irving. He's going to compete against James Harden. And he's been there before. He brings a championship pedigree. I think he'll be great for Sixers. And then the icing on the cake is Kyle Lowry's from Philly. So he fits in perfectly with this team.
So he would be great for any of those teams. And
that's true.
I think the point that Antoine makes about Philly is right. But Philly, I don't feel needs a point guard because they have all-star defensive player of the year Ben Simmons, fellow clutch client, by the way. The team that needs a point guard is Brandon's beloved Los Angeles Clippers. And I've been short selling like a rogue Wall Street trader the Clippers for years now. I'm telling you right now, Brandon Marshall, if they get Kyle Lowry, I'm going to have to reevaluate my position. He would absolutely fix whatever issues they have. He fixes the point guard issue. He would find a way, because by the way, Kyle Lowry in the playoffs once was Paul George in the playoffs. His head got the best of him. He had real struggles, and he got over it. He could help Paul George in that regard. He has a relationship with Kawhi. They won a championship together. So, Toronto, if you're going to trade him, don't trade him to the Clippers. Why should you not trade him to the Clippers?
That's right.
I am asking nicely. Don't trade him to the Clippers. I don't want to see him there, Brandon.
Listen,
that would be legitimately worrisome.
I disagree with Walk, and I agree with you on this one. The Clippers, if he goes there, you're going to have a heart attack. And for the first time this season, I will be nervous for the Nets because I truly believe the Nets are going to win the championship. They're going to win the title. The Heat don't have enough. So when you look at the question, the biggest impact, they can't get it done. In the 76ers, come on, man. There's not enough offense to compete against the Nets. So the Clippers is the answer.
Yeah, so I like Miami just because I love the idea of Jimmy and Kyle together, two sort of like super competitive guys. But the other thing that's happening here, and Antoine, you can tell me, I'll throw it to you real quick. Like, the Raptors are just imploding. Like, we're like, maybe we'll move on from Siakam. And then, like, the Lowry thing, they're doing it as kind of like a life raft to him. They're not trying to move him out to sort of get better. They're doing it as a favor to him in his sort of tenure with the Raptors. So the sort of fall from